My name is JD, and I'm actually a face-to-face agent out in the field. But today I'm interviewing my good friend Marcus Keikos. He's going to elaborate on what he's done to be successful as a telesales agent and kind of the details about that program. So thank you, Marcus, for joining us today. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, every time I get you guys on the phone, I almost feel slightly guilty because when I see your production numbers on the board, all I'm thinking in my head is like, man, I'm taking up all this valuable time. This dude should be out there writing some business right now. So yeah, I thank you, and I'm sure everybody here in the audience thanks you for taking the time out to share some key nuggets and things that they can hopefully apply to their situation. So to kick things off here, Marcus, can you tell us a little bit about your background? What were you doing before you got into final expense, and how did you get here?
So I used to be a personal trainer. I got certified at 18, and then I got a job.
Dave DeFord.
Yes.
Okay, how funny.
It was really cool that when I was watching a video on Dave, it was interesting. But as a personal trainer, I was making, I thought I was like doing it, and I thought I was going to grow, and I was fed a dream, making about like $1,200 a month. I got a girlfriend, kind of started talking to her like, are you sure this guy really has your best interest at heart? Kind of came to the conclusion that it really wasn't the case. So I heard somebody selling life insurance and was making like a great amount of money, a lot more than what I was making at the gym. So I quit my job at the gym, started selling face to face with my previous IMO, and I went all in. I didn't have much saved up, so I was actually took out a credit card to try to pay for my leads.
Again, another David DeFord reference, man. Yeah.
So I kind of screwed myself over, wasn't good with my finances, wasn't keeping track of all the leads and the advances and the chargebacks. I got you sell a $2,000 policy, like, shit, I made $2,000. Not really, if you're not keeping track of all the other chargebacks and whatnot. So I left that after 6 months with my previous IMO because I was kind of like churning and burning. I really wasn't making a profit. I was still in debt. I wasn't climbing out of it. I was spending money I didn't have. Counting, what is it, the saying, counting your chickens before the eggs hatch, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah,
so then I got it. Yeah, so I got another job as a personal trainer. This way it was operating through a 1099. So it kind of gave me some good business skills, and taught me how to manage my clients. This personal training job, I was making quite a bit more money, closer to like $4,000 a month, whatever. But I knew I paid off all my debt with that job. And after 6 months of me being that trainer at that other job, saved up a little bit of money, and I slowly started to transition myself back into selling final expense because I knew that this is what was going to set me free financially. As I was getting ready to make a transition, I get a call from my uncle saying he needs a job, or he needs an employee to run his business. So what I do now is I work part-time with my uncle, and I'm making just as much money as I was as a personal trainer, working 2-3 days a week with my uncle, and primarily focusing on running my final expense business via telesales. So right now I'm still considered part-time, but I'm working Monday through Thursday, almost like 40 hours a week with, final expense telesales. On the weekend, I help my uncle run his business. So really busy working Monday through Saturday, but I got to find a way to make it work. And the goal is to transition over into final expense telesales full-time and experiment with some other stuff too, like annuities or Medicare. So.
Excellent. Fantastic. And let me ask you, Marcus, what was it specifically about final expense versus the other options in insurance, right? Because you see Medicare, ACA, mortgage protection, right? All the other options out there. What made you decide on final expense, and what made you decide to go with DeFord Insurance Group?
With DeFord Insurance, so why I chose the final expense product is I knew that the life insurance commission was better, the way that they paid out the advances 75% up front. I looked into PNC, the commission rate wasn't as high. Medicare wasn't really too much of a fan of like waiting so long for it to build up on the your income. You got to wait quite a bit of some time for it to start to see some substantial impact. Right. I knew final expense was like going to be the fastest way for me to start building my bank account. So that was the number one thing that caught my eye. And why I chose DeFord Insurance Group is the YouTube, man. The YouTube channel shows a lot of great content, and I was actually searching a lot for a good IMO. I was previously with somebody who had an agency with with David Duford, and it was good because I was face to face. But the way that Dave operates with his telesales, side on the agency is what really caught my eye too. Because I don't want to do face to face. I didn't want to go see the people who had cat piss all over their house anymore. I was sick and tired of it. So like, man, let me just do this over the phone. I think I got a decent voice, right? So. Uh,
Got it.
and I know you can relate to that because you're a face-to-face guy.
100%. Yeah, you do walk. There are definitely pros and cons either direction, right? I mean,
Yeah.
being face to face, there's a certain advantage you have sitting down with somebody in their home, certain trust factor that you build a lot easier than you would over the phone. But you are walking into some unfavorable situations at times. I'll just describe it as that. So, well, good, man. Yeah, I'm kind of understand that. You did the final expense, and for those people that don't understand the difference between final expense and like some health insurance options like Medicare ACA, is that like Marcus had mentioned, was you get upfront commissions, right? And so with the Ford Insurance Group, most of our agents, if you're going to start on the independent broker side, you're going to start at 100% commission rate with the ability to go up to 130%. So you're getting paid a massive amount of money, but more importantly, you're getting advanced on the first 9 months of commission. So you're getting that big upfront money, fast money is what we like to call it, as opposed to strategies like Medicare ACA, where you're only getting paid as earned, which is great when you start stacking it up, and over time that builds that passive residual income. But to get started, you're kind of it's a little bit harder to get going, right? Because you're not getting that upfront money that you need now to get leads and kind of that thing going. So good. Well, great, man. That's some good insight for folks as far as, people trying to choose a strategy or what product to start off with, and then what agency to go with, right? You end up going here with Ford Insurance Group. And now I want to talk to you about, you've kind of alluded to it already, like choosing the telesale strategy. What do you feel are the advantages to going that route?
Man, my close rate in home was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. My head wasn't in the right place when I was doing it back then. I would say the close rate was the ROI is similar based on the numbers that I'm producing telesales versus in home.
Yeah.
But two things that were the biggest thing for me was I didn't want to like run my car down driving so much. My car wasn't like the most efficient for a lot of driving. It's a Buick SUV, so
I'm a Jeep guy, so I get it.
yeah, so you're getting like 14 miles a gallon. Another thing too was the kind of like, sometimes I get in my head too when I'm going to knock on somebody's door, especially if you're in like a sketchy area. I don't want, there was a story, you hear all these stuff and sometimes your mind can play games on you. So kind of need to grow a pair if you want to do face to face. So I guess you can say I kind of took the easy way out, but it is, you have to have a lot more skill set, or a lot higher of a skill to kind of navigate the presentation with telesales. When I was in the home, I kind of thought to myself, like, this is a really high chance I'm going to get this sale. But when I'm on the phone with the prospect and I'm giving out a quote, it's a lot likely they're going to hang up on you. So, for me, I was willing to have more presentations and get hung up on, as opposed to going through all the work to get into the home in the first place. So I just made that decision, and it was kind of hard for me to pick and choose, but just go with one and go all the way. Don't
100%.
Don't keep trying to think to yourself, oh man, should I do this? Should I do that? Just pick one. You'll know after 30 days if it's the right one for you. And I told myself, like, 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. After 2 weeks, I'm like, all these people keep hanging up on me. I'm like, just give it 2 more weeks.
Okay.
Culture started to improve. I started to get a little bit more comfortable on the phone. You start to get a little nervous, and that little nervousness in your voice can reflect big time to the prospect. You don't notice it, but they notice it a lot. So when you record yourself, I started to break down like my voice, the mindset behind, how I'm approaching the call. And that just made things a lot more better for me. My numbers started to go up. So, it's a little bit of a grind trying to get the numbers up with telesales as opposed to face, but that's the route I decided to take.
Yeah, man. And you highlighted a lot of good points. So for people that are kind of on the fence, and undecided on which direction, which strategy to choose out the gate, one of the most important things you can do is just choose one, right? Don't be on the fence or a person waffling that you're spending a couple days on the phone like, oh, this stinks, I'm gonna go out in the field, oh, this stinks, right? Because then you'll end up being nowhere, right? So dedicating or choosing one strategy to focus on and sticking to that. Like, to me, that's the most important part of everything you just said. But
Of course.
as far as telesales or face-to-face, it's kind of funny having a tit for tat because we're both on either sides of the fence here. And I'll tell you, it does look like the grass is always greener on the other side.
It's not. Oh my gosh. And when you've done both, it's like, man, I could have got the sale in person. Mine was pulling myself in a million directions, but I just told myself, commit to one thing. It's like getting into a relationship with a girl and then you see another girl who has one other
That's probably the best analogy that I've heard.
Yeah, right. You got to commit to the one girl. Oh, you get into one argument with your girlfriend. Oh, you're gonna break up with her because of that argument. No, that's silly. So I'm like, let me look at this telesales thing. Like I'm married to the telesales game now. So I had to commit. Like you're not gonna divorce your wife after 2 weeks after getting into an argument. So,
exactly. I'm a metaphor guy myself, so I think I'm gonna steal that, because one thing that I've always said, I've been married for 12, 13 years at this point, right? And the thing about it is, like, I've seen, as a fireman, like the divorce rates are high, unfortunately, and I've seen a lot of people split up and then remarry and that kind of thing. Like, because what I've seen, the stories that have happened is you leave a person because you don't like this one particular thing about them, right? And then you want to solve that problem, but what you don't realize, oh, this person's so much better, they don't have that problem, but they could have 7 other problems that you don't realize. You're just trading the problems, right? And I could see the parallels, like, as a face-to-face agent, like, man, I don't like going into houses because they're smelly or dirty, but then you're trading those problems for a different set of problems, right? There's not one strategy or the other that is problem free. You just have to identify which one of those that you're willing to deal with and which one of those environments that you have the highest likelihood for success, right? I think that's what it comes down to. So, well, perfect, man. Well, thank you for sharing that information. I kind of want to go next into speaking more specifically about our telesales program, because I, for one, am face-to-face, so I don't have the specific details, but people that are out there, they've decided they want to do telesales, they've decided they want to do final expense. Why do it with the Ford Insurance Group? What makes our training, our mentorship coaching program unique in working with Tim and those things of that nature?
Number one, Tim is a beast. This guy comes up with answers I would have never thought of. The way that he responds to certain situations is always like that. You're always on the attack. You're always on the offensive end. And, just having that killer mindset of go, attack, get the sale, push, try to level up, try to, stretch yourself out as far as you can. And just having that person in your corner. I played sports growing up. So when you have that sort of like aggressive coach, it always just motivates you to do better.
You never get caught on your heels, in other words, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh man, I had a bad day. No sales. I had like 7 presentations, no sales, which in the telesales side, if you had 7 presentations, you should close at least 30%. So you should have gotten at least a sale or 2. So if you have 7 presentations and 0 sales, it kind of can break your heart a little bit. But, Tim is always like, readjust, do this, do that, focus on this a little bit more. And the number one thing besides Tim is the script. Unbelievable. Just follow the script. Make it a little bit personal. You don't have to say the exact thing word for word, but 95 to 99% of the script should be exactly what is there. Change up a couple words, make it sound like what you would say. Instead of saying information, you can say info, whatever sounds more natural. Just make it you, but keep the same structure of the script. Unbelievable. I have so much faith and trust in it, and it works. It really does. And then the third thing too is the access to all of the people who post their deals. It's like, man, you did an interview with Wendy, I don't know, a week ago or so. You see Wendy posting these deals on school. Like, man, I got to catch up. I gotta get a deal myself. So having that community too, where you're just constantly trying to one up somebody is awesome.
Fantastic. And the other thing that I want to jump into is because I'm kind of on the recruiting onboarding team now at this point. I've seen a lot of new agents that are coming into the agency that have questions about what it's really like. So can you maybe guide us through some of the things you kind of covered already, like your close ratio, things of that nature, but what would a typical day look like for a successful telesales agent?
Of course. So my close rate for the first 2 weeks, for the first 2-ish weeks, I actually lost money on my lead orders. I didn't make a profit, which, I knew it wasn't based on skill. I knew there were some things going on. I was trying to do self-gen. I was trying to do too many things at once. So if you're trying to get started, make things as simple as possible. Buy leads from the vendor. You don't have to learn self-gen yet. Buy leads from the vendor and work them until you've hit them at least, 21 dials each lead. So if you buy 100 dials, you should be dialing that lead batch 2,100 times. That's theoretically what you should be doing. Third thing is keep track of all of your numbers. For me, I started off with a pickup. So every person who picks up the phone, if you're good, you should get half of them down to price.
Okay.
And for me right now, it's about 40-ish%, but my close rate makes up for it. So let's say if you get 10 people down to price, then you should be closing, if you're a good, 30%. So you should be closing 3 deals. So in order for you to get 3 deals, you have to get 10 people down to price. I'm kind of going backwards here.
Yeah.
You got to get 20 people to pick up the phone. Now, how many dials do you have to make for them for you to get 20 people on the phone? 1 out of every 10 dials 10 dials, you should get 1 pickup. So in order for you to get 20 people on the phone, you should make 200 dials a day. And we have a perfect, way of structuring that. After you make 200 dials a day, you're guaranteed to make 1, 2, or 3 sales. So just dial. And my schedule starts we have a meeting from 8 to 8:30. So I do any little bit of back end work before emailing or keeping track of my numbers, whatever. So I start dialing at 9 o'clock, dial from 9 to 12. I take a lunch, do any like calling the carriers or whatever from 12 to 2. Nice, because the pickup rate sucks from 12 to 2. It is garbage. So don't waste your time dialing from 12 to 2. Use that for any admin work, calling carriers, calling any clients who got a chargeback or whatever. Use that time for back end work, so you're not wasting your money making time. And then I dial again from 2 to 7, and then 7 to 7:30, I go ahead and keep track of all my numbers, making sure everything is good, so I'm ready to start the next day. Because how you end the day is how you're going to start the next day. And
Set yourself up for success.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do that Monday through Wednesday. Thursday, I write down all the people that I've sold. My goal is to sell at least 6 every week. So Monday through Wednesday is my selling days. Thursday, I have to get ready to go to my other job, but I still have that morning to write handwritten letters to everybody I've sold to, letting them know this is your policy. When I was in home, I would handwrite with a yellow notepad.
Yeah.
Yellow notepad. This is your policy. This is a handwritten receipt. You got a $10,000 policy with Prosperity. It's going to be on the 3rd of every month. Your draft. Here's my number. Something my previous IMO taught me was, if any other agent calls you lying about or saying that they have something better, they're lying to you. So I put that on the note as well. Put my business card in the letter, and then mail it out to them. And then I call them, and I use that day, that Thursday, to write those letters, call them, letting them know, hey, you got approved or declined. And then I go ahead and work for the rest of the week at my other job. So that's a Monday through Wednesday schedule.
Yeah. So you're
Pretty
making
much so.
sales essentially just Monday through Wednesday then. Thursday's more of an
Yeah.
app.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Fantastic. No, that's good information. I'm actually taking notes on all of everything that you're saying, because some of the things that you had mentioned too, I've heard, because I've joined some of Tim's calls just to get a little bit better idea of how the telesales system works.
Mhm.
And I've heard, and with other interviews with other agents that I've done, from Wendy and Jerry and some of the other folks, that $200 a day is their goal, right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I wanted to ask you are you doing the Alpha Lead program, or you're just buying leads from vendors?
Not yet. So
Okay.
I spoke to Tim. Since I'm not full time, it would be a waste, since all these leads come in on a consistent drip on a daily basis. Those leads that I'd be getting on the weekend would be sold by other agents. So it would pretty much be like having leads for 3 days and paying for leads for 3 days that would go to waste. So
Okay.
I'm paying way more for them right now, but it would be.
But you're still profitable.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay, good. No, that's good information. But And the reason why I was asking that question is because I've seen some of the strategy or goal for telesales people, like the dream, right? Is that all the leads that come in, they're self-scheduling, and then you call them and get them on the phone and close deals, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the sit ratio or getting the people on the phone that pre-schedule calls like is a lot lower than you would, out in the field. But are you doing any of that? Are you doing preset schedules, or you're 100% all 100% outbound calls?
I originally started doing both. So
Okay.
I started doing self-gen. Before I even made my first sale, it was through my first sale was actually a self-gen lead. But then I started to, kind of lose my focus on focusing on self-gen and kind of lost focus on getting better at selling. So I was like, man, which route do I take? And I asked myself, what's going to make me more money? Getting lower leads, lower lead costs, or getting better at selling? And I said, no matter if I buy leads for $20 a lead, which is insane, don't do that if you're telesales. But if I did, for example, and I was really good at what I did, I'd still make money. But if I sucked at selling and I was getting leads at $5 a piece, I would probably end up making the same amount. So I told myself, focus on getting really good at selling first. And then I set a goal for myself too. Like once I hit a certain number in my bank account, I'm going full time, alpha leads, and I'm not looking back from there. So that's another thing for me is I failed the business out the first time because I wasn't smart with my money. So now I'm a little extra cautious. I'm trying to make sure I can, do XYZ before I start thinking about going on a rocket ship to the moon. It's like going all in.
Walk before you, or crawl before you walk, right? That kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Okay, perfect. And so then what you're saying is that what you're doing is 100% outbound calls right now? Is that
Yes, 100%.
good ringing business? Okay, gotcha.
I did the appointment setters out of like 20 appointments. I probably got like 5 of them to show up and 2 sales out of that. So good, really good. Like the ratios are great, but you're not going to get them too often. You get them more on like a Monday and Tuesday. They book them in from like the leads that come in on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They book for Mondays and Tuesdays. And then, those are the days where you're probably selling most of your appointments booked.
Okay, got it. No, that makes sense. Talk to me about, as a telesales agent, one of the, I wouldn't call it requirements, but maybe it is, you can tell me, is to have a license in multiple states. Can you speak to us about your recommendation as far as that goes?
If you're buying leads from a vendor, you need to have at least 15. And what I recommend is at least 15 states, because there's so many backups on how many people are buying leads from that vendor, the one that Dave recommends. And if you don't have your leads coming in at the right day, at the right time, and they don't all get fulfilled by the certain deadline, you're screwed, because all those extra leads that come in past the deadline are going to be wasted. So having multiple states, it kind of helps you avoid running into that issue. And yeah, it's going to cost you more upfront, but it just benefits your business a lot better.
Okay.
Especially for me being on a part-time schedule, I need my leads to start coming in Monday morning, and I need them to be finished by Wednesday afternoon, or I'm not going to, have enough time to go through all of my leads. Ideally, I'd love them to be done Tuesday night, but whatever, usually kind of falls Wednesday afternoon. So that gives me enough time to go through every single lead the amount of times that I want to. And it won't be possible if I didn't have multiple states. So yeah, I have 25 now. You don't need 25.
Okay.
You don't need 25, but you still need at least over 10, I believe what was the number, but I think 15 would be better.
Okay, got it. No, that's good information. And if you can kind of maybe expand on that conversation as far as when you're buying leads from a third-party vendor for telesales. So for me, for example, I've got 2 primary Facebook vendors that I use for face-to-face. One of them is a little bit slower to get the leads in. So I typically place that order on Monday for those leads for the next Monday. And then I've got another vendor that typically for whatever reason, the way their campaigns work, they're a lot faster. So I usually order those on a Thursday or a Friday, and I'll have all my leads, or at least 80-90% of the leads by Monday, because I want them all in my hand, because Monday morning, my appointment setter is calling through the list and organizing them and putting them all, getting them prepared for the week. Whereas your strategy, tell us what day you're typically ordering them. And then, like you said, are they coming in during the time that you're making the call, so you can call them as they're coming in, or kind of walk us through that?
So this is very important too. You have to prioritize the newest lead. I place my lead order on Thursday. Thursday is when I do all like that admin work and stuff while I'm writing the letters. I buy the leads as well. and then they start coming in Monday morning. Let's say, for example,
Do
I'm
you
on a
schedule them to start on Monday, or they inherently come in on
yes, you have to be very specific. I tell them, can you start the leads coming in Monday morning? I made the mistake
Monday?
of
Okay.
placing the lead order on a Sunday, and they didn't start coming in until Tuesday, which screwed me up. And
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so luckily I still made a profit on that, but I didn't squeeze as much juice out of the lead order as I would have liked to. So very, very particular way of me running through these leads when I buy them. You have to prioritize the newest lead that comes in, the freshest lead. I don't care if you have 20 leads you haven't touched yet that already came in. If you're on a sales call and 20 new leads came in, you get to that newest lead because that's the one that's most likely going to answer the phone.
Hmm.
And then you get to the other ones that came in, whatever, maybe like a day ago. Even if they come in a day ago, I still don't care. I'm prioritizing the newest lead until my lead order is complete.
Okay.
And that's going to keep you maximizing your time. You don't have to waste time dialing, 12 times for them to pick up. They already know. They just sent in a request on Facebook. They know exactly who the hell is calling.
Got it. And then when you get to the end of the week, what do you do with the remaining leads that you were unable to get in touch with anybody? Do they go into like a long-term drip campaign? Did you ever call them again, or how do you handle that? Or is that just cost of business to you?
That I wish I haven't really set anything up yet. That's a good question. I saw this interview with another agent who like handwrites letters to all the leads he has that haven't answered. His name was Rashad. I tried doing that. I actually asked my girlfriend to help me out with that. And
Mhm.
it took her and I, like, we were thinking like, man, is this even worth like the time spent writing all these letters out,
Mhm.
putting a stamp, mailing it out, finding the address, all that
Mhm.
took us 3 hours or something like that to get through 100 leads, or not 100, but like the remaining of the lead
Weeks
order.
worth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you get like a sale or two out of that. I only did it one time. No one really
Yeah.
called back. So that's a good idea. Probably I should start putting all the leads that didn't pick up into like a little folder where I can
Yeah.
get back.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked that question is because I've seen with that Alpha Lead program, they have a CRM that's built into it, right? And so with things of that nature, you have the option to kind of long-term nurture. Like, it doesn't cost you any time or money really to set up an email campaign. Like, well,
Yeah.
it takes time to set it up, but once it's in place, like you're sending them emails repetitively, and maybe you get 1% or 0.5% out of that. But hey, that's just
Better than nothing.
gravy on the biscuit at that point, right? Because you hopefully
100%.
profitable on that lead list. So, but yeah, I like the idea about the handwritten letter. Obviously, it'd be easier as a face-to-face person simply because I don't have as many leads per week, right? Because I'm typically getting 25 to 40 leads in a week, and I'm making, I'm getting in front of half of them, presenting them, right? And so it's a lot easier to write handwritten letters. And that's funny you say that, because there's an experienced agent that I use as my mentor. His name is Gatlin, and that was one of his famous things that everybody like praised him for, was the fact that he came up with that idea of writing the handwritten letters to these leads that he was unable to reach, and actually making money out of that. Not just him, but the people that tried it too were that was a really successful way of doing business. So yeah, I like that tip. Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to wrap it up with these couple questions here. What is we'll start with, what is one thing or the thing that you maybe possibly hate or despise the most as being a final expense telesales agent? Give us the truth here.
Man, that's a good question. You're going to run into these prospects that are disrespectful. That's obviously, it's not the most pleasant thing getting cussed out or getting yelled at, but I would say that's one thing. Another thing too, obviously, you have to deal with chargebacks. Everybody doesn't want to talk about chargebacks, but yeah, you're running a business. Every business has their flaws. Nothing is perfect. I watch my uncle run his business. It's a supermarket pretty much. He loses a lot of money every day. People steal from the store. People break stuff in the store.
Stuff expires.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff expires. You have people bringing food back that they weren't happy with, because there's like a little kitchen there too. So I kind of like always relate what I do in my business with selling final expense with my uncle's business in the supermarket. And I ask myself, like, there's pros and cons in every business. There's a lot more stressful running a supermarket than a final expense business, but yeah, it sucks when you get a chargeback.
Yes.
Another thing too is the older people, they're not tech savvy. So trying to do a text to sign on the phone, it's almost nearly impossible to navigate. So that's another thing that's unpleasant. I lost a deal from that, and it still breaks my heart to this day. You know,
But
having
is there an option now that you're doing a lot of like voice signatures to overcome that? Or okay,
yes. So that helped me out a lot. It's a lot more lengthy, but that's it's better than having them try to figure out how to do a text assign.
yeah,
Another thing, you have to do phone interviews. When you were in face to face, a lot of the carriers you didn't have to do a phone interview. There's a couple of them you still have to do, whether you're face to face or telesales. But
okay,
most
yeah.
of them with telesales, you have to do a phone interview.
Mhm.
I liked when I was doing you know, what was it, some of the carriers like Americo, you get like the instant decision,
Mhm.
or you know, some of these other carriers you get like instant decision. You don't have to do a phone interview.
Yeah,
But that's another thing that's a little bit of a downside. But I told them like, hey, you don't have to do a blood or a urine sample, so this is the next best thing, right?
exactly. That's a good way
So
to sell it.
those are some of the downsides to the business, but
Mhm.
every
Yeah,
business.
I was going to speak to one of the things that I've just heard third party is like, the less personal you get with the person, the less likely they're going to be friendly or respectful. How do I mean? Like if you go from sitting down with somebody in person, they're going to have a certain level of friendliness or respect to any other human being that they're in contact with. And then maybe the next level is speaking to somebody on the phone. And then maybe the lowest level is like speaking to somebody on the internet, right? Like on a
Yeah.
YouTube or a gamer tag, like you're hiding behind a profile, right? And so people are less themselves and they're more brutal or savage than they would be had they were been on the phone or been in person, right?
That's a really good point. I haven't thought about that. Well, you know, yeah, people get phone tough. They act all hard and stuff. They would
Exactly.
never slam the door in your face.
Exactly. Exactly. So that is a challenge of as a telesales folk. But then tell us then, what are the things that you love about your job? What do you love about doing telesales final expense?
I get to do it wherever. I have like a little office that I pay a couple, you know, like $300 a month in rent. It just makes things easier when I'm separated from the house versus
Oh wow.
office.
Okay.
So it makes me more focused. I
Yeah.
can't, if I'm at home, I'm gonna go to the fridge. I love to eat. I swear, I'm gonna go to the fridge. So I'm like, let me get the office. I know I'm gonna be a
Yeah.
lot more productive. The convenience factor as well. I'm wearing a regular t-shirt, selling over the phone. I really like that. Sometimes I want to dress up. I want to feel like
Like a
professional.
professional.
I'll still go dress up to the office.
Sure.
You know, the other thing as well is the income potential. It's
Okay.
all on you. It's based on your results. Some people get scared of that, but you know,
Yeah.
I always want to. I would rather have more risk and more reward versus having that safety net of getting like a consistent paycheck.
Exactly.
That was the number one thing that attracted me to the business.
Eat
You're
what you
talking
kill.
to, yeah, you're talking to older people too. Sometimes they can be funny. They're interesting. They have stories to tell. This I remember this lady was telling me a story. I was on the phone for 2 hours. You know,
Oh
like
wow.
last so called the day, sat back, relaxed,
Yeah.
cracked open a Coke, listened to this lady yap her gums. But it's fun. You know, sometimes you get to like have an experience over the phone too, and then um in this business selling to final expense, these prospects, the people who really want it are genuinely good-hearted people.
Mhm.
They're really thinking about their family. There's a lot of people that I genuinely believe this, that don't care about their family to that extent, that are willing to cut into their $800 a month paycheck and pay out $80 a month for insurance to take care of a family member that when they're dead literally has like they're not going to know what's going to happen.
Right.
But these people genuinely care about their family, and I
To
take
alleviate that burden for their family. Yeah.
exactly and
Yeah.
I take pride in knowing that I can assist them. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of garbage products. I helped a lady yesterday who had a Mutual of Omaha graded. I don't know if I'm if that's
That's
okay.
fine. Yeah. No, you can talk carriers.
Okay, so she had a graded policy and she didn't even realize she had to wait 2 years. I got her
Mhm.
day one coverage because she had COPD.
Yeah.
So, you know, like stuff like that, we're brokers. We can get better products for these customers. We can save them a lot of money.
Right.
And you know, that's the upside of being a broker and being in the final expense industry with David Dufort. So
Yeah, 100%. My personal preference is when I go into a house and they've already got a policy in place, I'm like, fantastic. It makes my job so much easier
Yeah.
because they already believe in the product. They already understand the problem that they're solving, right? And like if you're already paying something, especially if it's like within less than 2 years that they got that plan, it's like, oh man, I know I have a carrier that's going to either give them better coverage or a better price, right? And so that's kind of
Yeah.
exciting trying to
Oh
beat
yeah.
that for them.
And I just realized that too. I'm like, wait, she already has insurance. I don't have to dig into the problem. She
Yeah,
already knows
yeah, they already,
exactly
yeah,
what
it's
the
a
problem
much easier sell to overcome. As long as you can find a better product for them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go with it. And the fact that if they like you, right?
is. Yeah.
Yeah, that plays
Yeah.
into it. So, well,
Yeah.
good, man. Well, thank you again, Marcus. This has been very educational, both for myself and hopefully the folks that are watching this video. We do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you don't have a lot of hours to spend doing telesales. So, I appreciate the fact that you did take time to speak with us today. And I think there's a lot of people in the audience that have gained some insightful information off of this for you sharing it with them. So we do appreciate that. The other thing that I want to mention, and I have to wrap things up with, if you're interested, if you like what you heard and you're interested in joining the Ford Insurance Group, go ahead and go to davidford.com. If you go to the page /apply, you're ready to jump in. Or if you want to learn more information, I do a daily Q&A call with new people that are looking to come into the agency Monday through Friday. So if you want to get more information, jump on a call. We'll have a conversation. And once again, Marcus, thank you again for being here. And thank you guys for watching.
Peace out, guys.